Every gardener dreams of a stunning flower garden that blooms all season long. But here's the secret nobody tells you. Some of the most beautiful annual flowers are actually garden nightmares waiting to happen. In the next few minutes, we're going to reveal 6 annual flowers that look absolutely gorgeous in the nursery, but can turn your garden into a battle zone. These flowers attract pests, spread diseases, take over your beds, and even harm the wildlife you're trying to attract. I'm William Scott from Golden Age Gardening, and if you want to grow a healthier, more beautiful garden without constant headaches, you need to watch this entire video. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps us bring you more expert gardening advice every single week. Now, let's dive into the flowers you absolutely need to avoid. Before we get into our specific flowers, let's talk about why this matters. Annual flowers are replanted every single year, which means gardeners invest time, money, and energy into these plants repeatedly. When you choose the wrong varieties, you're not just wasting resources, you're creating long-term problems in your garden's ecosystem. The issues with problematic annuals fall into several categories. Some are incredibly invasive, spreading through seeds that come back year after year even after you've removed the original plants. Others attract specific pests that can devastate your entire garden. Some varieties are susceptible to diseases that persist in soil and plant matter, making them nearly impossible to manage. And then there are the flowers that actually harm the pollinators and wildlife we're trying to support. Garden experts have been tracking which annual flowers create the most problems. After years of observation and research, certain varieties consistently top the list of flowers to avoid. The reason these flowers are so popular is exactly why they're so problematic. They're vigorous, prolific, and tough. But those characteristics that make them easy to grow are the same ones that make them invasive and hard to control. Worst annual flower number 1, tropical milkweed. Let's start with a flower that seems like it would be perfect, tropical milkweed. This plant is sold everywhere as a beautiful ornamental with orange and yellow clusters of flowers. Many gardeners buy it specifically because it's promoted as a monarch caterpillar host plant. This seems like a dream combination, a gorgeous flower that supports endangered butterflies. The problem is significant, especially if you live in warm climates. Tropical milkweed doesn't behave like native milkweed species. In warmer zones, it refuses to die back completely during winter like native milkweeds do naturally. Instead, it persists year-round, which completely disrupts the natural migration patterns of monarch butterflies. Here's what happens. Monarch butterflies need to migrate thousands of miles each year. This migration is built into their genetic code over generations. But when tropical milkweed stays green and produces flowers all winter long, it confuses the butterflies. They stop migrating and instead breed year-round on this available food source. Breaking this migration pattern creates serious problems for the species. Additionally, tropical milkweed can harbor a protozoan parasite that specifically harms monarch butterflies. When the plant never dies back, the parasite populations build up in the plant tissue, infecting generation after generation of caterpillars. This disease weakens butterflies and can kill them before they complete their migration. Instead of tropical milkweed, choose native milkweed species that grow naturally in your region. Research what milkweeds are native to your specific area and plant those instead. You'll be creating a genuine habitat for monarchs while avoiding the problems that come with tropical milkweed. Worst annual flower number 2, 4 o'clocks. 4 o'clocks are charming flowers that open in late afternoon, hence the name. They're popular because they're easy to grow and produce abundant blooms throughout the season. But this ease of growth is actually the problem. In warmer climates and frost-free zones, 4 o'clocks don't behave like proper annuals. They should die completely at the end of the season, but instead they produce fleshy underground tubers that survive winter dormancy. Come spring, these tubers sprout again and the plant returns stronger than ever. Beyond the tuber issue, 4 o'clocks are prolific self-seeders. They produce enormous quantities of seeds that scatter across your garden. These seeds lie in wait in the soil, sometimes for years. Just when you think you've eliminated the plant, new seeds germinate, and you're dealing with 4 o'clocks all over again. The real nightmare begins when you finally decide to remove 4 o'clocks. Because of those fleshy tubers, pulling up plants doesn't solve the problem. You need to excavate the soil deeply to remove the entire root system. Even small fragments left behind can regenerate into full plants.
To make matters worse, 4 o'clocks attracts Japanese beetles in many regions. If you have a persistent 4 o'clock problem, you're likely dealing with Japanese beetle damage as well, which spreads to your other plants. It's a cascading problem that starts with one flower. Worst annual flower number 3, Bachelor's button, cornflower. Bachelor's button, commonly called cornflower, might look delicate and charming, but it's a non-native plant that behaves aggressively in many gardens. The issue with cornflower is self-seeding behavior that borders on out of control. This plant will drop thousands of seeds by the end of the season. Even if you deadhead spent flowers, removing the seed heads before they mature, some seeds always escape. These seeds spread throughout your garden beds, and by next spring, you'll have cornflower seedlings everywhere. In unmanaged garden beds, cornflower becomes a persistent nuisance. It germinates densely, creating stands of seedlings that shade out other plants you actually want to grow. Removing thousands of seedlings takes enormous time and effort. Another problem is the plant's appearance after flowering finishes. Cornflower plants decline rapidly once the blooming period ends. The stems become woody and unattractive. The leaves yellow and drop, leaving behind bare, unsightly stems. If you've planted cornflowers throughout your beds, you're left with gaps and ugliness right in the middle of your garden. To maintain a coherent look, gardeners often do succession planting, seeding new batches of cornflowers every few weeks to ensure continuous blooms. This actually makes the self-seeding problem worse because you're intentionally spreading seeds continuously. Instead of cornflower, native asters provide the same delicate flower appearance, but they're much better behaved. Plus, native asters provide nectar and host plant support for butterflies and moths. You get a more beautiful garden, and you're actually helping wildlife instead of harming it.
Worst annual flower number 4, Busy Lizzy, impatience. Busy Lizzy is grown for its long-lasting flowers and ability to bloom continuously throughout the season, often for weeks at a time. The flowers come in wonderful colors, and the plants are relatively low maintenance in terms of pruning and deadheading. So why avoid them? Busy Lizzy has one catastrophic weakness: extreme susceptibility to downy mildew. This isn't just a minor cosmetic fungal disease. Downy mildew is absolutely devastating to impatiens. The pathogen that causes downy mildew can survive in soil and plant debris. Once it's present in your garden, it persists year after year. This means if you had downy mildew on impatiens one year, it's still there waiting the next year, ready to infect new plants. In humid climates, basically anywhere with regular summer rainfall or irrigation, impatiens plantings can collapse completely mid-season. This isn't a gradual decline. Plants go from looking healthy to completely devastated in just a few weeks. The disease causes leaves to drop, stems to blacken, and flowers to fall off. You're left with dead, disgusting plants right in the middle of your flower beds. Once impatiens are infected, treatment options are limited. Some fungicides provide temporary control, but they're not reliable. By the time you notice downy mildew, the disease is already well established. If you love impatiens and want shade-tolerant flowers, consider shade-loving begonias instead. These are actually related to impatiens, produce similar flowers, and are far more resistant to fungal diseases. New Guinea impatiens are another option. They're more robust than standard impatiens and less likely to succumb to downy mildew, though they're not completely immune. Worst annual flower number 5, spider flower, cleome. Spider flowers are genuinely striking. The delicate, spidery petals create an unusual and beautiful texture that stands out in garden settings. The plant blooms from early summer until the first hard frost without requiring deadheading or constant attention. For low-maintenance gardeners, spider flowers seem ideal. The problems begin with aggressive reseeding. Spider flowers produce seeds prolifically, and these seeds don't just germinate the following year. They persist and germinate year after year. Once you've grown spider flowers, they tend to pop up uninvited for many seasons afterward. The plant's appearance also becomes problematic as the season progresses. Lower foliage naturally yellows and drops as the plant matures. This is a natural part of the plant's growth cycle, but it leaves ugly, bare stems visible. What looked like a full, attractive plant in midsummer becomes a sparse, ungainly plant by late summer. Some gardeners also find the scent objectionable. Spider flowers have a distinctive, strong smell that isn't pleasant to everyone.
If you're planting flowers that you'll be near regularly, this could be a significant issue. Perhaps the biggest problem with spider flowers is combining all these issues. You get aggressive reseeding, declining appearance, and the strong smell, all from a single plant. The beauty of the early season doesn't outweigh the problems created later. If you want tall, dramatic flowers for the back of your beds, consider other options. Sunflowers provide similar height and drama, but they're less aggressive self-seeders. Dahlias offer complexity and beauty without the reseeding issues. Even ornamental grasses like miscanthus provide height and structure without any of the spider flowers' problems.
Finally, let's discuss West Indian lantana, one of the most invasive flowering plants in warm climates. This plant is incredibly popular in southern gardens because it's heat-tolerant, attracts butterflies and hummingbirds, and produces abundant flowers that transition through color changes as they age. The heat tolerance and vigor that make lantana popular are exactly what make it dangerous. In warm zones across the southeast and southwest, lantana spreads aggressively. It's not just a self-seeding problem, lantana spreads through multiple methods. Birds eat the berries and disperse seeds widely. The plant produces runners that root and spread. It persists and expands year after year. The real danger is ecological. Lantana spreads so aggressively that it outcompetes native plants, especially in natural areas and unmanaged spaces. Wildlife depends on native plants for food and shelter. When lantana takes over, it eliminates the native plants that birds, insects, and other animals need to survive. This is why lantana is actually listed as invasive in many warm climates. In some states, it's prohibited from being sold. In others, gardeners are actively encouraged to remove it. You might have a beautiful butterfly plant in your garden, but you could be contributing to environmental damage in wild areas. The problem extends beyond your property line. Seeds and plant fragments spread to nearby open spaces, disturbed areas, and natural habitats. What seems like a contained garden plant can become a serious invasive species problem across an entire region. Several of these problematic flowers become especially problematic in specific climate zones. It's important to understand whether these plants are actually problems in your location. Tropical milkweed is primarily problematic in warm zones where it survives winter. In cooler climates where it dies completely, it's not a problem. 4-o'clocks and lantana are serious issues only in warm, frost-free zones. In cooler regions, they die completely at season's end and don't persist. Before eliminating a flower entirely, check what zone you're in and whether that particular flower is actually problematic in your location. What's catastrophic in Zone 9 might be completely fine in Zone 4. That said, many of these flowers have problems beyond their invasiveness. Spider flowers' aggressive self-seeding and declining appearance are problems everywhere. Busy Lizzy's downy mildew susceptibility is an issue in humid climates. Cornflower's aggressive self-seeding makes it troublesome across much of North America. Understanding your specific growing conditions helps you make better decisions. Humidity levels, temperature ranges, and rainfall patterns all affect which flowers will cause problems in your garden. For every problematic annual flower, there are excellent alternatives that won't create ongoing headaches. Native flowers are almost always better choices than non-native varieties. They've evolved to grow in your specific region, which means they're adapted to local conditions. Native asters replace cornflower beautifully. Native milkweed species support monarchs without disrupting their migration. Regional shade plants replace impatiens. Native wildflowers can create the same colorful effects without the invasiveness. If you love the color and form of these problematic flowers, research what native plants in your region provide similar visual effects. Local native plant nurseries can recommend plants that have the characteristics you want while behaving responsibly in your ecosystem. Selecting plants is about balance. Yes, we want beautiful gardens, but we also want gardens that don't require constant fighting against the plants we've introduced. We want gardens that support beneficial insects and pollinators rather than harming them. Choosing the right flowers now prevents major problems down the road. A single year of growing one problematic flower can lead to years of dealing with self-seeding, persistent soil pathogens, or residual tubers underground. The garden experts who recommend avoiding these 6 flowers do so because they've seen the consequences repeatedly. They understand that what looks beautiful at the nursery can become a nightmare by midsummer. Your garden's health depends on the choices you make right now.
Plant the right flowers and you're building a garden that becomes more beautiful and easier to maintain over time. Plant the wrong flowers and you're creating problems that will plague you for years. If you've already planted any of these problematic flowers, don't panic. You can remove them and replant with better alternatives. If you have invasive flowers spreading in your garden, now is the time to address them before next year's seeding. Do you have experience with any of these problem flowers? Have they caused issues in your garden? Or have you found great alternatives that work in your climate? Please share your experiences in the comments below. Your insights help other gardeners make better decisions. Please share this video with other gardeners in your life. Help your friends and family avoid the mistakes that come from planting these problematic flowers. Share it on social media, text it to gardening buddies, or discuss it at your local garden club. Subscribe to Golden Age Gardening for more expert advice about growing a beautiful, healthy garden without unnecessary headaches. New videos come out every week covering everything from choosing the right plants to solving common garden problems. Thank you for watching and happy gardening!